Liam Harper was crying on the phone, begging me to take him back. He said every day he spent with Serena Thorne was a regret. I calmly told him I was working and hung up. I went back to organizing the estate of his dream girl's grandmother. He didn't know I had taken this job, and he certainly didn't know that I had just found over a dozen letters in the belongings. Letters he had written to me, but never mailed. When my phone vibrated again, I was wearing white cotton gloves, carefully lifting a dust-covered porcelain doll out of a wooden crate. The caller ID flashed Liam Harper, a number I had deleted long ago but still knew by heart. We'd been broken up for a year, yet the dead relationship was clawing its way out of the grave. I slid the answer button, put on speaker, and tossed the phone onto the dusty vanity. Chloe, his voice crackled through the speaker, raspy and laced with a familiar fragility. I didn't answer. I used an air blower to gently remove the dust from the porcelain doll's lace dress. See? Hello. Can we just meet? I am busy. My tone was as flat as a weather report. There was a long silence on the other end, followed by a suppressed sound, a choke that almost made me think I was imagining things. I regret it, Chloe. I regret it every single day. Being with her, I realized I can't live without you. You're the one I want to spend my life with. He sounded earnest, carrying the messy desperation of a drunk man making a Hail Mary pass. I picked up a microfiber cloth and wiped the doll's cold cheek. It had no expression, much like my heart at that moment. Liam. Yeah, he answered instantly, like a drowning man grabbing a life preserver. Regret is the cheapest thing in the world. It's just like the dust in this room. Aside from suffocating people, it has zero value. With that, I hung up. The world went quiet again. I placed the newly cleaned doll back in its spot and glanced at the vanity. In a silver frame, there was a sepia-toned photograph. A teenage Serena Thorne was leaning against a kind-looking old woman. This was the historic estate of Serena's grandmother in Beacon Hill. 3 days ago, I accepted the commission to organize the property. The client was an estate attorney. No family members were present, and the pay was generous. I like jobs like this. No tears, no drama. Just me and the silent objects left behind by the departed. Liam had broken up with me for his one that got away, Serena. He said I was too heavy, that my profession as an estate liquidator constantly reminded him of death. He said Serena was like the sun. She could illuminate his future. But now here he was, crying on the phone like a child who couldn't find his way home. I continued working, pulling open a locked drawer. The lock was old. A simple twist popped it open. There was no jewelry or cash inside, just a flat tin box. I opened it. A thick stack of envelopes. The handwriting was painfully familiar. It was Liam's. I pulled out the top letter. The recipient line clearly bore my name, Chloe Vance. The postmark date was the first month after our breakup. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by a cold, slow hand. The stationery was the kind Liam always used, carrying a faint scent of cedarwood. Smelling it now just felt like a cruel joke. Chloe, seeing this letter is like seeing you. No, you'll never see this letter. I'll probably never send it. Today marks 30 days since I left you. I moved in with Serena into her penthouse downtown. Everything is great. She makes gourmet breakfasts, drives me to the office, and sits quietly by my side when I'm tired, just like the perfect girlfriend. But I dreamed of you last night. I dreamed of our cramped, drafty rental apartment. I dreamed of you wearing that apron, cooking pasta for me. The boiling water splashed on your hand, and you winced in pain, but you still brought the bowl to me first. Chloe, I think I made a mistake. I folded the letter expressionlessly and stuffed it back into the envelope. My stomach churned, not from sadness, but from nausea. How dare he? How dare he use this method to declare his remorse when I had already started a new life? Why were these letters in Serena's grandmother's house? I lifted the entire tin box out and set on the floor. One by one, they were all addressed to me. The timeline stretched from 1 month post-breakup to 6 months ago. More than a dozen letters lined up like poisonous thorns. In them, Liam described his pain, his longing, his guilt toward me. He described Serena as a painting on a wall. Beautiful, but cold and untouchable. And me, I was the chipped mug that held the warm coffee, the one he had smashed with his own hands. My phone buzzed again. A text from Liam. Say, please pick up. I'm begging you. I really know I'm messed up. I turn off my phone. I didn't want to be disturbed by his meaningless words and emotions anymore. I was just an estate organizer. My job was to sort through the past of the dead, not process the emotional garbage of the living. I shoved a box of letters into a corner and threw a drop cloth over it. Out of sight, out of mind. Work had to continue. I started organizing the storage bins under the bed. Most contained the old woman's vintage clothing, smelling of mothballs and old times. At the bottom of one bin, my fingers brushed against something hard. It was a small wood carving, a curled-up cat. The lines were clumsy, but it had a rustic vitality to it. I recognized this carving. I had given it to Liam for his birthday during our sophomore year of college. I spent a week carving it with an X-Acto knife, getting blisters all over my hands. He loved it back then, so it would be a family heirloom. Turns out his heirloom had long since been tossed into someone else's memories. I held it in my hand. The cold wood dug painfully into my palm. Just then, the screen lit up with another text. It wasn't Liam. It was a number I didn't have saved, but I remembered the name. Julian Ash. Ms. Vance, I finished restoring a section of that antique manuscript you brought in. Do you want to come take a look? Julian Ash, the son of my previous client, a rare book conservator, a man who, like me, dealt with the past. Julian's studio was tucked away on a quiet tree-lined avenue in the South End. The air inside held notes of dust, only the scent of paper, ink, and something akin to time itself. He was wearing a slate blue workman's shirt and gold-rimmed glasses, looking down as he used a delicate pair of tweezers to manipulate a torn page of an ancient book. Sunlight filtered through the bay window, casting dappled shadows on him. It was quiet as a painting. You're here. He didn't look up, his voice clear and resonant. Yeah. I walked over to his side, watching his hands work. The paper, which had looked ready to crumble into powder, seemed to gain new life in his hands. This is the one. He pointed to the book on the table, a 17th century edition. Keeping it in this condition isn't easy. Thank you for your hard work. It's a job. He set down the tweezers and looked up at me, his gaze warm and clear. Is your current project going well? I hesitated. Liam's letters and the discarded wood carving flashed through my mind. Not really, I said softly. He didn't pry. He just poured me a cup of tea. It was warm and carried a subtle floral aroma. My mentor used to say, in our line of work, we restore books, but we also cultivate the heart. He paused, then continued with some things. As long as you've done your best, that's enough. You don't need to obsess over restoring it to its original state. The damage is part of its history, too. My heart felt gently struck by his words, right? The damage itself is part of the history. My relationship with Liam was broken. It was just broken. Those scars were part of my life. Why should I negate the year I spent healing just because he regrets it now? Thank you, Julian. Just Julian is fine. He smiled, crinkling the corners of his eyes. I'm a few years older than you, after all. The tranquility of the studio and his steady presence made my tight nerves slowly unravel. I almost forgot about that suffocating old house full of Liam's ghost. We talked about rare books, about calligraphy and restoration. He knew a lot, but he spoke simply and with humor. Talking to him felt like taking a walk in a spring breeze. I left my phone in my bag, ignoring it for a long time. It wasn't until I was getting ready to leave that it rang, breaking the mood. I thought it was Liam, but when I saw the caller ID, I froze. Serena Thorne. I had never given her my number. Hesitating, I picked up. Ms. Vance. Hello. Serena's voice was exactly as I remembered, soft, gentle, with a perfectly calculated hint of timidity. This is Serena. I know. I'm sorry to intrude. I heard you took the job organizing my grandmother's estate. My heart sank. Did Liam tell you? No, not him. She denied it immediately. I found out myself. Ms. Vance, did you find anything in my grandmother's house? Her voice held a tension she couldn't hide. It sounded like probing, but also like fear. A ridiculous thought flashed through my mind. Those letters, Miss Thorne, if you have something to ask, just say it. Silence on the other end. Then in a tone bordering on begging, she said, Ms. Vance, can we meet, please? We met at a coffee shop. Serena looked much more haggard than she had a year ago. Even her immaculate makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion and anxiety in her eyes. She used to be the legendary white moonlight, the one that got away. She was the unreachable dream Liam held in his heart. Now the dream had become reality, but she looked like she was trapped in a nightmare. Ms. Vance. She stirred her coffee, not daring to look at me. Thank you for agreeing to see me. Speak your mind, Miss Thorne. My time is valuable. She bit her lip and finally looked up. You saw the letters, didn't you? I knew it. You planted them, I asked. She nodded, her eyes instantly tearing. I know it was despicable. I just didn't know what else to do. Her tears fell drop by drop in her coffee cup, creating tiny ripples. I found him in a drawer in his study. He was drunk, and I was cleaning up. I saw the tin box. I read every single one, seeing every word he wrote to you. I knew I had lost. I never really won. I listened quietly, feeling nothing. So, you put the letters in your grandmother's house, and then arranged for me to get the job, just so I would see them. She choked back a sob. Part of me wanted you to know he still loves you. Maybe you two still have a chance. And the other part, I pressed. Her face went pale, her lips trembling. I hate you, Chloe. She finally spoke the truth. I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous of the past you shared with him that I was never part of. I thought if I stole him back, I'd win. But I was wrong. His body is with me, but his heart is with you every day. He's with me. It's like he's completing a task. He treats me well, impeccably well, but it's a polite, distant kind of kindness. Like he's handling a VIP client. I couldn't accept it. I wanted you to taste this feeling too. I wanted you to see how much he loved you, and then how painfully he left you. I wanted you to hurt too. I looked at her and suddenly found it laughable. Two women sitting here having an absurd standoff over a man's love or lack thereof. Meanwhile, that man was probably somewhere else, continuing to write his cheap poetry of regret. Serena, I spoke softly but clearly. You've got one thing wrong. His love, his regret, his pain, those are his problems. They have nothing to do with me. And honestly, they have nothing to do with you. You treat him like a trophy, so you were destined to lose because you never loved him as an equal. I stood up to leave. Wait, she called out. Ms. Vance, Liam might go look for you today at my grandmother's house. She seemed to make a huge decision. I told him you were there. I just wanted to see what would happen if you two really met. She smiled, and it was uglier than crying. I'm just that broken, Chloe. If I can't have him, I want to ruin it all. My heart sank completely. This was a trap, a web woven by Liam's cowardice and Serena's paranoia, and I was the prey they wanted to catch. I returned to the old brownstone. Pushing open the door, the stale air hit me. Serena's words felt like a splinter in my mind. She wanted to show a dramatic scene between the ex-girlfriend, the current girlfriend, and the indecisive male lead. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I took out my phone and called my assistant, Mia, to pack up all the files for the Thorne estate. Send them over to Heritage Keepers. Heritage Keepers was another agency in our field. Good reputation, but they were our direct competitors. Chloe, why? The commission on this is huge, Mia asked, confused. Just say we're short-staffed and can't complete it. Deduct the breach of contract fee from my salary. But just do as I said. I hung up and started rapidly packing my toolkit. I didn't want anything to do with this house or anything inside it ever again. The letters, the wood carving, the memories, they should all be sealed away and forgotten. Just as I zipped up my bag, heavy footsteps pounded outside. The door was shoved open. Liam stood in the doorway, panting, hair disheveled. When he saw me, his eyes lit up as if he'd seen salvation. Chloe, he strode toward me. I instinctively took a step back, creating distance between us. His steps faltered, the light in his eyes dimming. You're leaving? My work is done, I said coldly. No, Chloe, listen to me. He rushed forward, trying to grab my hand. I sidestepped him. Liam, we're broken up. You don't owe me any explanations. But the letters, he pointed to the tin box in the corner. You saw them, right? Those are my true feelings. True feelings. I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. Your so-called true feelings are enjoying your dream girl's pampering while writing letters to me in the middle of the night to vent your pathetic, misplaced guilt. Your truth is a bit schizophrenic, don't you think? My words hit him like a knife. His face turned sheet white. I, I just, he stammered. I just needed time to figure out my heart. So, you figured it out? I stepped closer, pressing him. You figured it out. And then what? You wanted to come back and rescue you from Serena? And then what? Wait for the next dream girl to show up, so you can kick me aside again? Liam, you don't love me. You just love the version of me that was obedient and tolerated everything you did. You love the feeling of being loved. No, he shouted, emotional and agitated. I really love you, Chloe. I can't live without you. He lunged forward and hugged me tight. He smelled of Serena's unfamiliar perfume mixed with his own scent. It made me physically nauseous. Let go. I struggle hard. I won't. I'll never let go of you again. He held me tighter, as if trying to merge me into his bones. Just then, a broken voice came from the doorway. Liam. Serena was standing there, tears streaming down her face, watching us. She had come, after all. She wanted to witness this farce with her own eyes. Serena's appearance froze the room. Liam, still holding my arm, stiffened. He slowly turned his head to look at Serena, panic and confusion written all over his face. She walked in step by step, her gaze shifting from Liam to me. So, this is your choice, Liam. You'd rather choose a woman whose past you completely erased than stay with me. Liam let go of me, as if I were burning hot. He stood between us, torn and looking utterly pathetic. Serena, it's not what you think. Chloe and I, we were just clearing things up. Clearing things up? Serena's voice pitched up. By hugging like that, I watched this ridiculous scene with cold eyes. I was the abandoned ex. Serena was the chosen current. But right now, we both looked like fools being played by him. Enough, I said, cutting through their drama. Liam, your choice has nothing to do with me. Serena, your insecurity has nothing to do with me either. Take your love-hate soap opera somewhere else. I have no interest in being the audience. I grabbed the handle of my toolkit and moved to leave. You can't go. Liam blocked my path again. Chloe, you can't just walk away. We haven't finished. We have nothing left to say. I lost my patience and shoved him hard. In the chaos, he grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. On the other side, Serena rushed over, tried to pull Liam away. The three of us were tangling and tearing at each other. Let go of me. My arms slammed into the tall antique bookcase behind me. It was a massive piece reaching almost to the ceiling, piled high with heavy books and bricks. Years of humidity and termites had left it unstable. My impact was the last straw. With a sickening creak, the entire bookcase began to tilt slowly toward us. Watch out, Liam screamed, instinctively trying to pull me into his arms. But in that split second, I used all my strength to shove him away. I pushed him toward Serena. Crash! The massive bookcase collapsed with a deafening roar, bringing down a waterfall of dust and decay. Countless books and objects poured down like a landslide. The world was instantly swallowed by darkness and noise. I thought I was going to die, or at least break a few bones. But the anticipated crushing pain didn't come immediately. I was pinned under the debris, hit in the back and legs by falling books and wooden planks. I groaned in pain. Dust filled the air, choking me into a coughing fit. Chloe, Chloe. It was Liam's voice, full of terror and panic. Are you okay? Are you hurt? He was separated from me by the wreckage, trying to get over but blocked by the debris. I struggled to move, but a sharp pain in my leg made me suck in a breath of cold air. It felt like something sharp had sliced me open. Warm liquid was slowly soaking into the fabric. I'm alive, I gritted out. On the other side, Serena was sobbing. When the shelf fell, Liam had been pushed toward her by me, so they fell together. They avoided the direct hit and were mostly just shaken up. Grandma's doll. She was kneeling on the floor, weeping over the scattered shards. The porcelain doll I had cleaned just that morning was now pulverized. Liam frantically clawed through the books in front of him, crawling toward me. Chloe, don't move. I'll get you out. His face and clothes were covered in gray dust. He looked wretched, but watching his anxious face, I felt not a flicker of emotion. Just a moment ago, when the shelf fell, I didn't push him away to save him. I just purely didn't want to die in his arms. I was disgusted. He finally crawled to my side, trying to pull me out of the ruins. Don't touch me, I said coldly. His outstretched hand froze in midair. Amidst the chaos, I spotted something from a hidden compartment that had shattered in the fall. A dark brown notebook had tumbled out. A journal. It landed not far from me. The cover was old and worn by time. Ignoring the searing pain in my leg, I reached out and snagged it. There was no name on the cover. I flipped to the first page. Elegant handwriting caught my eye. Summer 1970. Today, I rejected Mr. Wright's proposal. It was Serena's grandmother's diary. I shoved the journal into my tool bag. Liam eventually dragged me out of the debris. My pant leg was sliced open, blood staining the denim dark red. "I'm taking you to the hospital." Without waiting for an answer, he scooped me up in his arms. I didn't fight him, not because I accepted his help, but because my leg truly hurt. Serena was still kneeling on the floor, crying over the porcelain fragments. As Liam carried me past her, his steps faltered. "Serena." Serena didn't look at him. She just mumbled, "It's all broken. Everything is gone." A flash of guilt and hesitation crossed Liam's face, but ultimately he tightened his grip on me and walked quickly out the door. The hospital hallway smelled of antiseptic. The doctor said it was just a flesh wound, some stitches, no bone damage. Liam was busy running errands, paying bills, getting prescriptions. Then he sat beside me, peeling an apple with a small knife he found. His technique was clumsy. The peel broke constantly, thick in some places, thin in others. Just like the way he handled relationships, a complete mess. "Chloe, I'm sorry," he said, head down. "This is all my fault." "It is your fault," I agreed calmly. He paused, probably surprised by my bluntness. "You just recover. I'll cover the medical bills and any compensation." "I don't want your money then." "What do you want?" He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. "Just say it. Anything I can give." I looked at him and suddenly felt exhausted. "Liam, I don't want anything. I just want you to disappear from my world completely." His hand shook and the knife nearly nicked his finger. The apple rolled onto the floor. I ignored him and took out my phone, texting Julian. "Julian, can I ask a favor?" I sent him a picture of the grandmother's diary. "I found an old journal. It's fragile. Could you take a look and see if there's a way to read the contents without damaging it?" He replied almost instantly. "I can. Are you free now? I can come to you. I'm at City General." The ER appeared at the ward door. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, holding a fruit basket. He looked like he'd come in a hurry, yet he still carried an air of clean composure. His gaze immediately fell on my bandaged leg, a slight frown forming. "What happened?" Liam stood up, eyeing this sudden, charismatic intruder with hostility. "Who are you?" "I'm a friend of Chloe's." Julian's tone was light, but carried an undeniable authority. He walked to my bedside, set down the basket, and spoke naturally to Liam. "I've got from here. You can go." Liam didn't leave. He stood there like a wooden post, watching Julian with defensive, scrutinizing eyes. Julian ignored him completely. He pulled on a pair of white cotton gloves and carefully removed the diary from my bag. His fingers were long and steady, brushing away the dust with a tenderness like he was touching a lover's skin. "Preservation is decent," he evaluated. "The edges are acidified, though. Need some reinforcement." He opened the diary. I leaned in with him, quietly reading the yellowed script. Liam stood off to the side like an awkward, superfluous shadow. The diary recorded a woman's life. In her youth, she too had a deep love, a white moonlight as bright as the sun. For him, she rejected a man who silently protected her, wealthy, upright, decent. Later, her son flew away to marry a rich Aries. She spent half her life alone in regret and waiting. The lines were filled with remorse over that choice. I spent a lifetime chasing a beam of light, only to forget that the man holding the umbrella for me was the real sun who could bring me warmth. I thought love was about fire and passion. In the end, I realized what I really needed was peace and stability. If I could do it all over again, I would definitely choose him. The him was the mister, right? She had rejected. My heart felt a heavy impact. Serena's grandmother had spent her life enacting a tragedy of unrequited longing, and Serena seemed to be walking the exact same path. The last page was written shortly before the old woman passed. The handwriting was shaky but pressed hard into the paper. To my granddaughter, Serena, don't throw away the warmth in your hand for a phantom. If you love the wrong person, learn to cut your losses. You don't need to walk the winding road I walked. I closed the diary and looked at Julian. He was looking back at me, his eyes holding a deep understanding and compassion. I get now, I said. I took out my phone and sent the exact same text to both Liam and Serena. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. The corner cafe. Let's end this. After sending it, I looked up at Liam, who was watching me, and Julian with a complicated expression. Tomorrow, I'm going to resolve everything at once. When the time comes, I hope you can make your choice like a man. My tone was calm, but left no room for argument. This was my ultimatum to him and the beginning of my new life. The next day, crutches and all, I went to the cafe. Julian drove me, helped me to my seat, and then sat quietly at a nearby table, reading a book he'd brought like a silent guardian. Liam and Serena arrived one after the other. Liam had dark circles under his eyes, unshaven, looking wrecked. Serena wore heavy makeup to cover her pallor, her eyes empty like a doll's. I pushed a box toward them. Inside are two things. Liam opened the box. On the left were the dozen unmailed letters he had written to me. On the right was her grandmother's diary. Liam, I looked at him first. These letters, I'm returning them. Your deep affection and your regret are your business. Don't make me carry them anymore. This is your past. Handle it yourself. His hand brushed the envelopes, his lips trembling, unable to speak a single word. Then I turned to Serena. Serena, this diary is the most valuable inheritance your grandmother left you. I think it's worth more than any man's cheap love. Your grandmother spent a lifetime figuring out the right choice. As for what you choose, that's up to you. Serena picked up the diary, clutching it tightly to her chest, tears sliding silently down her face. I looked at the two of them, one drowning in a past he couldn't fix, one lost in a future she couldn't see. I used to think, I said slowly, that love was everything. But now I know it isn't. My job is organizing what the dead leave behind. I've seen every kind of joy and sorrow in other people's stories. I've seen people live in agony because of obsession. And I've seen souls find peace through letting go. Liam, you're not my obsession. Serena, I am not your enemy. We just happen to play our roles in a mistaken relationship. Now the play is over. I stood up, adjusting my crutches. My life is turning a page. Take care of yourselves. With that, I didn't look back at them. I turned and walked, step by firm step, toward the door. Julian was already holding it open for me. He naturally took my bag and supported my arm. Let's go, he said. Sunlight poured in from outside, warm and bright. I glanced back one last time at the two people in the cafe. They sat there, trapped by a table full of the past, like two isolated islands. But me, I had already reached the shore. Walking out of the cafe, the wind on my face felt good. I took a deep breath. It smelled like freedom. My phone lit up. It was a text from Julian, even though he was standing right next to me. The studio just got a set of vintage books from the Roaring Twenties. Beautiful paper. Free to come take a look. I turned to look at him. He was watching me, a faint smile in his eyes. I smiled too. It was a relaxed, genuine smile I hadn't felt in a long time. I looked down and typed one word. Yes. Story complete.